Hey, so obviously, there's been a lot of selling happening, and I want to um, kind of refresh my understanding, see if what new developments might have changed that affected the technical picture, so I can be prepared for what's next. It's always important to be aware if I or you start thinking like, oh, I already know what's going on. That's when our minds have closed and we can get really hurt because we're lacking in information that may be a lot more important than we think. Um, hold on. So it's important, like in Buddhism, they say having beginner mind, otherwise your mind is closed off, and that's very true. And I kind of every day catch myself thinking I don't need to go over things again. And then when I go over charts, I see things that I didn't see before, and then how things have changed that can make the difference of thousands of dollars a day in difference if I'm aware of it and act on it. Alright, so this is Bitcoin, and so I know that it kind of briefly broke above this triangle, but it's broken back down again. I do want to have volume on my charts all the time. It's very important. All right, and so this is seeing some support. I don't know where my cursors. Okay, for my drawing tool. Here. I don't know how long it'll last. It looks pretty weak, and apart from that support, we have support at these lows down here, and this might have this small bounce before it drops here, a small bounce, and then we'd have a very bearish situation. So that's kind of the way I'm looking and thinking about this. If I go in, I'm not seeing anything more helpful on the daily chart. But if I look at a 12-hour, am I seeing anything helpful with volume? No, it's still lower low, lower high, meaning the downtrend is in place. If we break this, we might have an attempt to correct a bit more. That can happen, but I think this is where this is the big sell area place, where I think a lot of people are going to be selling. So I think that will happen. You're going to get some kind of attempt to buy, and I think it's going to fail, and then we're going to drop. I'm not going to buy because I think that this attempted to bull flag and it failed. And so I think that that is not something that I'm interested in doing. And also, this happened out of the weekend, and so there's a lot less volume to contest a big buy like this. I think in 24 hours, we'll see. I think in 24 hours, there's going to be a lot more people wanting to continue the trend down. I mean, that's basically it, because I think the alts are so weak that they're going to have a huge continue to have a huge downward effect. So Okay, so again, you know my view. Okay, so if you're interested in selling this area to here, that's the big short area. Buy is, you could say the low. I don't think 6K will hold it next time it drops there, because this is the reaction, and if it drops there, it's after a failure to continue higher. And so I think there's going to be more interest in thinking that that's not going to hold, and also it's a sign that these bulls are not as strong as this candle would indicate. So that's kind of the situation I think this is in 2 hours or anything. I mean, like maybe closed Bollinger Bands could help in terms of short term. But yeah, this is more or less telling me this. One thing that's very bullish is just that this is sideways. It kind of looked like a bear flag to me, but I guess I wasn't looking at this kind of on a 2 hour, 1 hour chart. That this was sideways, at support that normally leads to move up, and so I could have traded that had I looked at this chart and made some money actually. But I didn't, so I didn't make that money. So I have to wait a little longer for more bulls to try to come in and take this up, but I think that will fail. So I'm holding short at this point. This is a Bitcoin cash chart, and on the daily, again, this is a head and shoulders. That's broken through the neckline, and because this is such an early break on the long-term chart, this has quite a ways to go. This is going to be below zero. I mean, it can, and so I mean, certainly heading towards like below like $100 at least, I would think. And the only way I guess this chart could be read is on a logarithmic chart, but that still targets way lower. Okay, so on a 3-day chart, that's clear, but that doesn't necessarily help me in making sure that there's no huge significant pullback that would really hurt me. I think it's not going to happen. I think this was the pullback retest. This faked me out last time, but I should have seen this big reversal candle along with, there were other factors to help me determine that could have helped me determine that this was going to bounce. And I shouldn't have been so premature about thinking that like something that hasn't hit the neckline would just destroy it, even though Bitcoin had broken down severely. And I guess a lot of that is because I put too much stake in Bitcoin and didn't look at the altcoin market cap chart that was basically at massive support. I'm not gonna make that mistake again. Okay. So yeah, similar to Bitcoin, I'm adding volume because it will tell me things that I might not see otherwise, and or confirm my view of this looks like there's not a lot of people buying here. And it's important when I think those things that I actually think that when I say there's not a lot of money, as much money being bought, it's actually other people buying it besides me that I'm looking at to decipher what they're probably going to do next. It's not like I'm playing like solitaire here on the chart, and sometimes that is a lot of, in some ways, how I would view things, and I think that's how a lot of people view things, just because I don't actually see these people around me. So yeah, anything on a 4-hour chart that might help me? Not really. 4 hour, 6 hour, that was a 6 hour no, and on a 2 hour no. I am looking for just further down, and this was, the people were trying to take that up because it was bear flag, but that totally failed and we got lower, which is very bearish. There might be, because this is the next support, and another attempt higher, but I think that's going to fail because I think this would be the strongest place for it to continue, where buyers would come in. That said, we're at a lot of horizontal resistance, and that's a big sell place where I think a lot of people are going to sell based on the 3-day chart. If I look, we broke below this low, which is at 613, or actually maybe 600, and we are close to that. So I think 600 will be a very strong resistance, and you can see that, or I can see 600. Once that sort of was broken, we had some kind of attempt to break above it, and it totally failed. So I think this area is going to be where a lot of people are going to sell.
What's important to you in a broker? Over the past 10 years, we've grown from a very small business into one of the world's leading brokers with a service.
Keep me warm with your love. Stay up night until the morning. Dragging our feet back through the sand. Put me running, kiss me softly. Feeling the love you take my hand. I wanna stay and watch the sunrise. No time for sleeping, 'cause then we've been missing all the things that make us feel alive. I just wanna be open. I wanna keep hoping you are my love, my watch the sun early rising. Look in your eye, be so much more. Don't have the words to frame this moment. Gonna be high on your love. I wanna be with you forever. Gonna be hard to say goodbye. All you said are so precious. Stop the time, I can't go back. I wanna stay and watch the sunrise. No time for sleeping.
So yeah, I guess that's it for Bitcoin Cash. This is SNT. It doesn't have as much data, but it clearly broke through this triangle and is heading down, and it broke the prior lows. I don't think there's a lot I can infer from this. It's certainly in a big downtrend. I have to see, does it look like, is there any evidence to think that we'll have a big bounce from here? Not necessarily. It has bounced, but this isn't enough. And it has sort of a reversal candle, but the fact that it didn't really have follow through on the attempted move up is not really particularly all that bullish. So that's really all I can infer from this. This is BAT. BAT is also doesn't have as much data. It's not that it didn't have enough bounce, like that people didn't buy it enough or close their shorts. But this is a very clear triangle it's in. It's starting to break through, and I think it will soon. So we have like a sort of technically a break back in, but because it kind of broke through, it kind of made this not a strong support, and I think it's very likely we'll dip down and head a lot lower.
Cover your arms around me. Keep me warm with your love. Stay up night until the morning. Dragging our feet back through the sand. We'll be running, kiss me softly. Feeling the love you take my hand. I wanna stay and watch the sunrise. No time for sleeping, 'cause then we've been missing all the things that make us feel alive.
I mean, that itself could be a good short once this breaks out on like some kind of pullback retest if I want to get in something fresh, like a new position, just because this is, one could say, relatively overvalued, and that a strong breakout will lead to a strong move down. So, is there anything all that helpful in the shorter term chart? Not really. I could check for divergence. So that's pretty much it. I don't really see anything all that helpful. There isn't really divergence that would suggest this is gonna be that typically people tend to buy more here, and that people are gonna use to want to buy as a reason to buy more. So that's it for that. This is Elf. Elf clearly broke down from the bear flag that I discussed, and is just tumbling. On a pullback, this would be a good short, but it's certainly gotten away from me. Not that it matters too much, because I shorted other things, and so I've enjoyed the move too. But this is not really pulling back. People are not buying this up. In part, I think, because the liquidity is all lower, but it broke this massive support, and I think it's just going to head much lower. One reason I didn't want to short is just because on pullbacks it's had so much strength. Like from the low in April, it went up like 4 times, and that's not really a situation I want to potentially deal with if there is a strong rally, dealing with something that where people would buy this and it would cause the price to go up so much that I would be underwater. So I guess that's more of a risk management issue, though possibly it could have been like a good short on this pullback, and then basically at the first big support cover that as one of the ones I want to cover first. So yeah, this is just tumbling. No sign that buyers have come in such a way that it looks like they're going to continue to want to buy. I mean, you had this big reversal candle, and it's totally, the other day when is it? Yeah, just overnight, and it's already being totally ignored, it seems. So yeah, nothing strong here. This is Ethereum, a very important chart. We are entering. This is a big head and shoulders. That's completely broken down. I mean, on a long-term chart, this looks like it's just started. This crash has just started, and I'm looking for like at least there, if not lower. I mean, and what price is that? I mean, that was only in April or May, and this is projecting, 50 or something. So I think that's very likely. Yeah, so I'm looking for a lot more downside. On 3-day chart, same thing. Volume. Okay. So yeah, this is Ethereum on a 3-day chart. Nothing all that useful in terms that I cannot see on the long term. That maybe with the daily would help more. Volume and MACD is not telling me anything about what other people might do, meaning market. Well, I'm part of the market, but I have to anticipate what basically everybody else is doing, and then make moves based on what I think other people are going to do next. Basically trading the panic and fear or whatever. Nothing still. 6-hour chart. Nothing still. To get it closer to see short term if I think there's going to be a bounce. And so this was the attempt higher, it failed, and now it dropped to a lower price, and I think this is also going to fail, and then we're gonna get that. That's my thinking right now. And yeah, this has been certainly falling quite a lot, so I think that's gonna continue. This is RGN. RGN broke down, and it's finally really starting to tank. Holy shit! It's down like a shitload compared to everything else. Wow, and I guess it's because people are selling it. Wow. Wow, this is really getting hammered. I didn't really think it was gonna tank this hard. If I thought it might be a possibility, maybe that would have been a short. I mean, I guess it's really has a history of really doing that. It really tanked a great deal from April, but I guess this was another example of where if there's a big rally, I would be afraid of holding RDN because it surges so much in comparison to other things, and it's hard to you know, cover that because without dealing with a huge amount of slippage because of it's not as liquid, meaning there's not as many people trading it. So if I want to like fill all my shorts or and by buying all of them, there's not going to be a lot of people to sell to. So So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It's just more down. I don't have a lot of chart data to have a better idea of where people might buy that or not. This is OMG, and this is the last one I'm gonna do before I'm gonna take a break, and I'm gonna come back later today and finish this. Sorry for all the pauses and stuff. That's this is some kind of, it's either a Head and Shoulders or I don't know, but regardless, once that support broke and we had to retest, it was down from there. That people would sell that, and that this is a pattern in which people shows that people are likely to start selling a lot next. It's like a buying pattern that shows that. I want to add volume, see how much people are buying at different places. I wouldn't really say this is divergence of any kind. This is continue a lot more down. On 12-hour, well, you had this big retest of this triangle breakdown, and we're heading lower. There's not divergence to suggest that this is like some kind of bottom. 6-hour chart. Six-hour chart also seeing not much. It's helpful. You could say a little divergence here, but I think max maybe it would be a pullback to the 4.5 area. In line with, you know, Bitcoin getting to mid 6,000s or a little higher than that. That's about it. Yeah, a little divergence. I wouldn't put too much stock in that alone. I don't think there's gonna pull back to a significant degree. It could though. 3-day, this is wax, a triangle breakdown, and it's heading a lot lower. and wax did bottom at its prior low. It pierced it a little bit, and it could see some kind of bounce, maybe to 9.5 cents, but I think that it's not going to hold. And the fact that prices, let me look at volume patterns to see how much buying was done where. I don't really see divergence in a significant way to suggest that this is a serious bottom. No, this is going to be where sellers are going to come in. And that's where they would also come in, you could say. There's also fib levels. This is Ven. Ven isn't really that helpful. I don't know enough chart data. It's just big downtrend. That's about it. It was very strong for a while, but once things turned, it's really holy shit! It's really plummeted. Jesus Christ! Ven, the one that was strongest, turned so weak. It was at well over $2. Over 260, 270, and oh, it's dropped so much. Wow. These smaller ones, I think, really take it in the chin. Because the information was suggesting that people would start dumping, and then if everything's in a downtrend, there's not a lot of as many people who necessarily want to go buy and long. And then I guess a lot of people are liquidating their long-term Ven holdings in a serious degree. And there's not a lot of buying to counteract it. This was a lot of resistance, and that, especially with this candle, could have been a reason that okay, there's a lot more selling coming in, and people are selling now, and there's a good chance people are going to continue to sell this along with everything else. I guess I was just fearful of how strong it is when it does rally. That I guess I didn't think that. I was more afraid of that. That people, if there was some kind of turn up, it would rally more. But this is definitely a great short. Maybe a way to incorporate these things is maybe just allocate a smaller amount of money, but I can make a much bigger return for taking on that extra risk. That relationship where it surges up a lot more, that can easily flip down, because a big surge doesn't mean it's going to be strong in perpetuity. It just means that the downside is could be just as strong as the upside. Okay. So I'll continue this video later.